Larry, I always enjoy our conversations. As I like to say, I could be having a dreary day and just talking to you would put me in the frame of mind that I could conquer the world. So I always appreciate and enjoy our chats and really looking forward to this one today. I know one of the big topics right now is transformation, whether you've gone into a new year and you have the goal to transform yourself and your process. But there's also a lot of folks too that, here we're into February that maybe they faltered a bit in their early goals. There's time to get back on track. I would love to delve into your thoughts on transformation. How do we do it? How do we do it and ensure that it is successful?
I love it. Great question. And just want to make sure you can hear me out there. Thank you for having me join, Carson. When I think about transformation, which is really becoming someone new, someone better, and it starts with, I know we're going to talk about it later, but it starts right here. It starts in your mind. It starts in your heart. There's a quote, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So yes, some people have lofty goals and we're in February. Oh no, I'm not there. It's okay. Today, what can you do today to take yourself up a notch? And the key there is, what can you do? So many times, and believe you me, I've got notebooks everywhere. I take notes. I write down my dreams, my hopes, my aspirations. But we hit speed bumps. We're going to hit some turbulence, some chaos, especially in today's age. We don't know what's around the corner, but what can you do? You got to control the controllable. So I like to think about, and actually I have a book. The first chapter is, what story are you telling yourself and believing? And I'm not immune to it. Sometimes I've got this voice in the back of my head. I call it FUD, not Elmer Fudd, but fear, uncertainty, and doubt that says, hey, Larry, you're not good enough. Larry, you're not smart enough. Larry, you can't. And then I got to pop that voice out of my head and say, hey, guess what, Larry? Yes, you can. And yes, you will, as long as you take the steps. So essentially, what actions are you doing? What books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What people are you surrounding yourself in order to elevate your game personally as well as professionally? That is the question.
That's powerful, Larry. I need a hologram of you to wake me up in the morning, because I feel like that would get me fired on all cylinders, even on those days where I just don't want to get out of bed and hit the treadmill and the weights. I love how you highlight the what story are you telling yourself, because that's the key. And you highlighted some elements like fear, uncertainty, and doubt that really fall into the imposter syndrome. I think a lot of times we don't feel comfortable in our scenario. And so we feel that, maybe we don't deserve where we are, or we have doubts, or amidst the ambiguity, we get lost. And I think that's where, we really can double down on the mindset element. But the other thing too, you've got to sell yourself on the need for change. I recall very vividly years ago, after college and sports ended for me, and it was one of those conscious decisions that I realized, okay, I'm going to have to do something to stay in good physical condition and health. I had to sell myself on the change. It was important to me. And over the years, I've done it for a variety of reasons, but it's a lifestyle choice, not a diet, not just going out to exercise. And so selling yourself truly on the change will give you a better chance. You also said controlling the controllables. What can you do personally? There are a lot of things in life that are out of our control. Things happen all the time that will knock us down and block us. But it's what you do to prepare for those scenarios and what you do in the face of those scenarios that you endure and that you persevere. Those are the things that ultimately make sure that you're successful. But mindset is key. You hit on that, Larry. What are your thoughts? How do we control the mindset element? How do we bring our best self to every scenario?
Well, Carson, I played baseball in college. Go Terps. I don't leave home without my bat. But essentially, it's one of those things where life is a four-letter word. It's going to hit you. There's going to be ups and downs, highs and lows. When it comes to mindset, how do you keep that happy medium? I call it positivity. Some people call it optimism. You can get into the semantics of the word, but how do you believe? How can you get hit over the head and still believe that, hey, I am somebody. Hey, I'm here to deliver and add value. I'm here to be a go-giver and not just I love a go-getter, but I love a go-giver when you give and you give and you give. Now, you talked about preparation. Well, I don't know if Allen Iverson is listening, but I'm talking about practice. I can tell you that the more I practice, the more my mindset went up. The luckier I got. There's a quote that talks about it, but how are you practicing in order to be able to step into that belief? I believe we all have inner greatness. And a lot of times the factor that we're overcoming is that person in the mirror. How do you look at that person in the mirror and say, you know what? I can do it and I will do it. It starts with the heart, honestly. The heart connects to the mind connects to the mouth, which, can you hear me now? I run my mouth a lot, but what I learned is that you've got to listen. You've got to listen to learn to those around you. Those, I call them Sherpas, people that have been there before. Larry, you're zigging. No, you got to zag. And oftentimes, I don't know if it's the ego. I can only speak for myself. I used to be scared to ask people for help. Oh, I don't want to bother Carson. I know he's super busy. I don't want to put him out. No, Carson wants to help. And whether you know it or not, Carson, you've helped me both from our conversations as well as your book. Come on now.
Okay, well, Larry, you just you got me feeling like I can go out and do just about anything. Here's the thing: everybody comes into the day or the scenario with their own set of circumstances, right? I mean, there's people that had a great year last year, so it's like, how do I maintain? Because as they say often in the trade I'm in sales, you're as good as your last sale, or the scoreboard goes back to zero. Great sports analogy. So, there's that element of it. Is I'm following up a great year, and then you start running up into roadblocks. I got to tell you, I had a very difficult, and I've shared this with you, very difficult December and January. Lots of things going on from a family perspective, personal perspective, and just keeping a steady hand on the wheel sometimes is so challenging. But I got to say, like, that's what I think keeps the high performers. That's what separates them and puts them into a league of their own, is that ability to keep the steady hand on the wheel amidst all the uncertainty and chaos, especially when you have a team. When you have a team performing, or rather not performing for you, do you have knee-jerk reactions and start leading with data and fear? Or do you still keep that steady hand on the wheel, focus on the fundamentals? The other element that you hit on that I think is so important is the growth and learning. I'm always going out and I'm trying to find who's the best, who's better than I am at this or that, the areas that I want to improve, because I want to know, like, how can I get better at these things? And then I'm always on the lookout for different recommendations. Somebody turned me on the other day to a great speech that was made, The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. Then somebody also turned me on to Get Abstract, where I may not have the time to read as many books as I want to. I have 3 going right now, but Get Abstract, you can download these Cliffs Notes of great books. And so I was listening to one the other day on leadership, and I jotted down like 5 things I used on a team call. Optimize your time. And look for these ways that you can continue to get better, learn from others. And the last thing you said, asking for help. These are so key. When I was an individual contributor years ago, I thought it was just me. I thought I was the one that was the most important. I thought I could do anything and everything. And guess what? I did well, but I didn't unlock the optimum level of my success until I embraced the team game.
So true. They say teamwork makes the dream work. Together, everyone achieves more. I know these are cliches, but I'm going to tell you, Carson, from my experience, and my father grew up in Baltimore City. He was the only one from his family to graduate high school. What he showed me, and it wasn't just his talk, what he showed me and demonstrated is that this is so powerful. And oftentimes we limit ourselves. For the top performers out there, hey, you might be great. I'm a Hercules. But how can you be even greater? How can you get to be a Hall of Famer? How can you be an all-time great? I want you to be the GOAT. And I'm asking you, what are you doing to step your game up to the next level? You might be able to do it yourself, but can you bring along someone else and another person so that we can all thrive, even in this current environment? That is the question. What are you doing? Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote that I love. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help others? I ask myself that every morning. I look in the mirror, I say, where did my hair go? And then secondly, I say, hey, Larry, what are you going to do today to help someone else out? And if I can answer that question at the end of the day, boop, today was a good day.
You nailed it. And I feel strongly that if you look back on a situation, even that you deem as a loss, like let's say you had a bad day or you lost a deal, if you look back on that and you realize that you left it all in the field and you did everything you could, you controlled the controllables, you can walk on and you can feel proud about what you achieved, as opposed to feeling dragged down or beaten down as a result. Don't get me wrong. If I lose a deal, I may sulk for a day or a night, but I'm going to be right back out there the next day. Being a Hall of Famer, what are you doing to transform? Don't just play the game, revolutionize the game so that everybody knows who you are and what you bring to the table. The other thing you said too, Larry, that I think is so important, the MLK quote, invest in people. When I realized that I would win every time I invested in the winning of everybody around me, that's what it became all about, is doubling down on people, invest in relationships, deliver unique value to them, find ways that I could help everyone I touch win. Guess what? I won by proxy, and I never had to worry about results. And I got to ask you, because every time I talk to you, you're firing on all cylinders. And somebody, I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering this right now. Like, how do you do it when things can't possibly always go your way? The odds are not always with us, right? So when you're not feeling it and when you feel those setbacks, how do you approach it?
It's a choice. And we all have that choice. When my 2 feet hit the ground in the morning, number one, I'm grateful. And I just give thanks. I'm grateful to be able to breathe. I'm grateful for my beautiful family. And you're right, it's not all rainbows and sunshine, as my 8-year-old daughter would say, unicorns. No, life happens to me. It's a 4-letter word. But I have a choice, and I have a colleague, a former sales rep of mine, James Babb. He works for Wally World, Walmart. He said, Larry, he told this to my team, when any situation happens to you, I challenge you to look for the good, the great, and the wonderful. And it's crazy because we had a big ice storm, and one of my reps said, "Ooh, Jamie's message was spot on. His car got stuck in like a little snowbank. He ran off the road." He said the good is that I had to walk a mile. I got some exercise that I wouldn't have normally got. The great is that I had a great night's sleep in a hotel. And the wonderful is I didn't have my dog and my wife kicking me at night. He said, "Oh, that was the best sleep I got." So it's really about perspective. And yes, you win some, you lose some, but you either win or you learn, and you take those learnings. I do an exercise. It's called the journey line exercise. My journey started at 1978. Ooh, the gray. I'm old, but
Same
there's
here.
been some ups, some downs, some highs, some lows, some twists, some turns. For the highs, what did you learn and how do you use those learnings? For the lows, what did you learn from those valleys? How do you share those learnings with others, and how do you make sure you don't make that same mistake? You learn from it. I lost my father 6 years ago. Oh, it was one of the lowest valleys I had. But what I learned is that every day, you got to make every day count. I don't know if there's any Latin scholars, but I think they call it carpe diem. I met a guy who had it tattooed on his arm. I said, "Oh, that looks painful." He said, "Oh, he had carpe noctem." I said, "I'm a little bit too old to be seizing the night. I can seize the day, and I'm going to seize the day because it's my choice each and every day."
See, we're the same age, so now I have to look up to you even more because you're the model of what I got to give out every day. It's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. There was the greatest piece that I took out of that was that success comes after the preponderance of people would have given up. So if you're able to push beyond, that lack of sunshine and rainbows, there's a reason that I've got Mr. Rocky Balboa back here on my wall. Now, granted, it's not because of Rocky 5. I'm much more of a fan of, let's say, 1, 4, and the Creed films. And I liked Rocky Balboa, where he makes this quote, the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean and nasty place. It'll keep you down if you let it. But you're the one who makes the decision ultimately to get up and keep moving forward. And that's really the key element. I think a lot of people also lament in their lives that maybe they're not doing what they feel like they were called to do or meant to do. They're not doing what they're passionate about. I say, take your passions and infuse it into what you do. You know, you're never going to be in a job that you love with 100% of your heart. And I think that's the key, is that's why you find people that you can invest in, and then you find ways that you can invest your passions into what you do. That's what's going to make you great. Nothing good or bad lasts. And we have to be very realistic about things. You know, you were talking earlier, Larry, about the optimism, and, you know, I'm a big believer in just realism. And the realism is that perspective is everything. And I believe fully that there is something great that comes out of nearly everything, even a loss in your family that can bring people together that haven't seen each other in some time, or a new relationship can be forged. There's something in every one of those. So I think the challenge, as you said, is to always look for the good, the great, and the wonderful. I'm going to commit that to memory.
I love it. I love that you talked about Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I was just in a mastermind where we broke out the chapters. I'm working with a coach, Carson, and she shared this book with me. I don't know if you can see it, 3 Feet from Gold.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a glare, but I highly recommend it because so many times it's tough. And when the going gets tough, I believe tough people are greater than tough times. But so many times we see folks give up. When you were right there, you were right at the door. If you had just persevered, if you had just, stick with it. I know the rowing is tough. Stick with it. The gold is right there. But that's the importance of really having an A team, having a crew that supports you, that encourages you, that lifts you up. And as long as you give, I call it making deposits. When you make those relationship deposits, that relationship bank is full, and now you can call in a withdrawal. But so many times folks want to take. It's like, you're asking me for something, but you haven't given anything. And it might work every once in a while, kind of like in Vegas, we're at the casino. You might get lucky, but you got to give, or else you're not going to be able to consistently receive. Houston, we have a problem.
That's right. And I love that you hit on the odds element. I'm a big believer in odds and probability, and you have to look at the odds of your own success going down a certain path. And that's why we focus so much on people, because people are the X factor. If you invest in people, they're the ones that enhance your odds. And then there's the process. You know, your process is the execution of what you've created and what you've deemed is the right way to achieve success. Where I think we falter often is when we fail to execute on one of those two things. We fail to invest in relationships, and we fail to execute on process. And maybe we cling to these comfortable ways of mediocrity, or comfortable ways of failing, as I like to call them. That is what often leads us to not realize the success we want. Something else that you nailed, Larry, is that when we're talking about transformation, it's critical that we control those controllables and focus on the mindset, and that it's all a choice. But I have to add that sometimes transformation is also reinvention. It's that I can't tell you how many times in my career I've had to approach different scenarios, different circumstances with a completely different and new tool set and skill set. And I think sometimes we struggle with that because the unfamiliar, the change is uncomfortable. It's development of new muscle. And so, again, I would ask, and I'll turn this to you. I think a lot of people, they can pride themselves on a positive mindset. They think they've got it all figured out, but then they go into something completely new and they cling to what they deem are these comfortable ways of mediocrity. How can somebody who maybe has had some success historically, or maybe had that false sense of success like the Vegas odds, how do they tackle these setbacks that they're facing?
Yeah, I can only speak from my perspective. I hired a coach, and I tell you, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, every time we meet, I'm uncomfortable because she stretches me out of my comfort zone. There's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, break it, shake it, flip it upside down to a new perspective, a new way of thinking about different situations. So for me, I intentionally sought out guidance, coaching for new perspectives, because I knew that I wasn't, and I don't think we could ever max out. I ask people, are you maxing out? The answer is always no, because there's always room to grow. I want to give your listeners something tangible and tactical that they can do. When you think about priorities, faith or spirituality, family, fun, faith, we said faith, fitness, finances, fun, career. How do you prioritize those? How do you score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are you at today? What can you do to take yourself to that next level in your top 3? That's the critical one. And when you score yourself, I encourage you to think about it. How would other people score me? How would my family score me in terms of relationships with my children, with my significant other? If I'm an 8, but they say I'm a 5, there's a big miss and there's an opportunity to improve. So that's really, for me, it's intentionally getting out of my comfort zone so that I know, hey, I'm elevating my game and there's still room to continue elevating to get to that next level, wherever that next level is.
It's a deep thought, Larry, and I would challenge everybody, myself included, really look at those relationships that you claim matter most, and are you prioritizing them? Are you investing them in meaningful ways? I always ask people if they're 100% satisfied with their results in any given metric or avenue. And often, as you said, the answer is no. So why are we clinging so tightly to our way of doing things? Why aren't we open more to changing and expanding and optimizing, as you said? Something else you hit on too that I really want to spend a moment on is the value of a coach or a mentor. You know, finding people that truly challenge you. Do not go out and find somebody that's going to just tell you, hey, you're doing a great job, or just pat you on the back. I can tell you that my greatest career relationships and my greatest experiences in my career have been the ones that have been the most painful sometimes. The one that are willing to actually tell me, no, you're not doing enough of this, or you're afraid of this, and you need to do this if you're wanting to truly create your brand as XYZ, as a leader, as a seller, whatever that was. The other element too is find those roles that truly challenge you. I was sleepwalking years ago, and I thought I was really good at what I did, and my results were strong, but I was not a team player. I was not somebody who understood how to really play the game and to build consensus. And when I learned how to do these things, that's when I was able to take it through the stratosphere. So find those roles that challenge you. The last 8 years of my career here at Microsoft have been the most challenging, but also rewarding of my entire life. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. And your self-awareness. I can hear that transition and that transformation that you've been through for that self-awareness to realize, hey, this is where I'm at. And I might be good, but I'm going to need to get here, and I'm going to need this. It's going to be painful, but that's growth right there. I'm not into growing plants. My wife is, but I know sometimes you've got to cut in order for the plant to grow. It's the same thing for us. I think they call it pruning. And sometimes we've got to prune the people around us. Sometimes we need to prune our own thoughts that we're sticking to, because, hey, if that's what you're focused on, and that's the only way, good luck innovating, good luck growing, good luck getting to that next level. So I encourage folks, look at the person in the mirror. I think Tony Robbins talks about the most successful people ask the toughest questions, therefore they get the best answers. What questions are you asking of yourself? What questions are the people around you asking of you? And if they're not challenging you, you got to cut it. We need people that are going to challenge us to get to that next level. Feedback, having an environment and being open to feedback, being coachable, and realizing that, hey, there's not just one way. I can still learn to get better. You look at the greatest, and I love sports. You look at Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. They were looking to dominate, to be the best in every single avenue, and it was just that burning desire. That's what I'm looking for from a teammate. Do you have that burning desire to be excellent in everything that you do?
And they were true students of the game. They wanted to know every single piece, every variable, and they controlled every element of it, even if it was the mental game of how to wear down an opponent, that mental toughness. I mean, these were great players, and they were constantly in the gym. They were constantly honing their craft. Larry, I could do this all day long. But unfortunately, we both have to get back to it. Parting shots. Anything else that you want to share or focus on before we sign off today?
Yeah, I just want to share with everyone and encourage them. Hey, you've got greatness inside of you. My challenge to you is to be committed to finding and believing in your inner greatness. You can make it happen, not just only you, but with a crew around. I'm challenging you. Let's make it happen. Let's have fun while we do it. Thank you so much, Carson.
Thank you, Larry. Find your inner greatness and get other people in the boat with you, and you can't lose.
That's right. I
Thanks so
appreciate
much,
you.
my friend. Absolutely. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.